So, Jacko on his backo.
What's that mean?
You know what that is?
No.
That was the headline from either the Boston Herald or the New York Post when Michael Jackson OD'd and almost died or something.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. So first, I just want to play something. Just like this is just a tiny sound clip. This is just a Connecticut TV station. I forgot which one it is. Talking about there's network of gay organizations that wants to expand in Connecticut, and listen to the built-in premise, really like PR from the gay organization, which I don't know anything about. Maybe it's a wonderful place, who knows? But listen to this lack of reporting in just this sentence as they set it up.
In Connecticut, many communities are home to pride centers. Now, longtime pride advocates want to create a statewide group to create a more permanent presence at the Capitol and work with our elected leaders to advance the rights, health, history, and culture of the LGBTQ community. Advocates and state leaders are coming together to launch Equality Connecticut.
You know, we're doing an awful lot of swallowing, their messaging right there.
Yeah.
It's like that's the news saying as fact that all this stuff is absolutely
But don't you think that's like a symptom in a ton of local news, both like TV and print, is that they just take stuff people give them and print it?
Well, I mean,
how little they have, so little staffing and resources to do anything, to find any real stories. They just fill up their papers or their news time with like stuff people are handing them.
Well, I would definitely see it in the sense of, UConn is handing the Acme Award for Excellence to this person, and then having some attributable quotes in there. So essentially, the news piece is already written.
Right.
But this is something where there is a lot of opinion in this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And for the battle of equality and this and that, and they're going to do it. And you're attributing a lot of motives and unvetted as an actual news item here, which is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. This is why people hate this crap. And it's like, between that and what Turtle Boy is going through now, with the psychotic from the Globe, what's that chick's name?
Julia.
No,
that person.
No,
the city councilor.
No, the one who went after Kirk and Jerry.
Shirley Leung.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, I sent it to us, but she's now going after like the Turtle Boy thing. Who's going after a city councilor? I don't know really the story all that much. I don't know what he's going after her for. I assume she's a psychotic, and he's going after her for. I know that he's going after her for, among other things, the Monica Cannon Grant allyship.
Mm-hmm.
But to have Leung call him a white supremacist in her tweet, whatever, like you.
That's like an absolutely bonkers thing to say about Turtle Boy too.
Well, right. I mean, this idea that look, we're not going to vet simple news items. That said, we're going to portray people who have done nothing to be considered white supremacists as white supremacists. Why? Because he took on a race-baiting psychotic, Monica Cannon Grant,
right,
and dared to publish a story about her. Well, the Globe published her stuff as if she was a straight-up clean operator.
That's pathetic. And there's, by the way, a lot of perfectly rational, reasonable, negative things that you could say about Turtle Boy if you had a problem with him, as I know many people do. But to say he's a white supremacist is just not one of the things that you can say about him.
Right. Or if he is, he's misallocating his time, chasing down real local news stories. It's just really, the local media sucks. And, I told, Tim Canton gave me crap. I think you banged in last week when this was happening. Tim Canton gave me some crap about looking down at local news because I was sick of the Boston accents, but it's true. I always was. Not of the news people, just of like Dottie McGonigal, who was like reacting to the house fire and Dot Ave. Like that, I can't do it anymore. I can't. I'm sorry. But you add in the fact that now these people suck. I mean, there was a time at Channel 7 where one of the reporters was Howie Carr.
Right.
Howie effing Carr doing reporting. At Fox 25, Joe Battenfeld was doing reporting. There were hard reporters, and there still are some. Like even like some of the other guy from Andy Hiller was a reporter. You know, he was the guy who used to put the screws to politicians left and right and enjoy. These people were bloodthirsty. These people were Andy Hiller. He would join us at the Boston Herald a lot. He had shark eyes of a killer as a reporter. Same with Howie. Same with Bat. These people are fearless. Fearless. They could give an F. And some of them actually, I think, kind of liked when you would go after them. But now we're just like running these press releases. It sucks. And I had a woman call today saying that she's upset because her mother expects the Hartford Courant, and a lot of times it doesn't show up. And, and so her mother's very distraught over that. And it's like, yeah, by the way, you're paying for your subscription for it to show up.
Right.
So you have the right to be mad. Now, you know what does show up?
What?
The invoice. The invoice shows up.
I bet.
Absolutely, at these papers. So this is like small media, what's left of it, the ones owned by these, hedge funds. It's rubbish anyway. Give up hope. That's gone. So we're going to have to ask ourselves, what do you expect or what do you want local journalism to look like? Because there's short money in going out and covering high school sports and going out and covering Board of Ed meetings and plant and zoning board meetings and, going to the courthouse. It's unfortunately for a lot of places, you got to go to the courthouse to get the docket and dockets and read all the court cases and get the police reports. And it takes some doing. So if somebody's going to do that, they're going to need to get paid. And if it's a one-man band, then it's very tough to know how to sell clicks per thousand or CPM, whatever, or click-through rates. It's tough to sell that crap. And it's also pennies in the dollar.
Yeah, it's an under-talked-about story, but obviously people still read news and probably read news more than ever digitally online now. But the advertising spending is nowhere near what it was on digital advertising that those news companies are actually bringing in. Mm-hmm. They've replaced the readers online, but they have not been able to replace the revenue online. And that's because these companies like Google and Facebook are sucking up a huge percent of that revenue that's going to them instead of going to the news outlets that create the information. And it's actually getting even worse because now Google aggregates so much and like pops it up. They're getting faster and faster at sort of taking the information, previewing it so you don't even need to go through in a lot of cases and click through to the website where the information actually resides. Google's just showing it to the person on Google and taking the money that way, any advertising dollars and whatever. So the tech companies really have, it's not just that they're a threat to free speech because they're pro censorship and they want to control what information people have access to, and they work closely with the government to make sure that the information that the government doesn't want out there doesn't get out there. It's not just that. They also have absolutely destroyed local news. And until there's an actual model to be able to do some of that, I mean, I think it's going to be kind of smaller, scrappier outlets doing that work for a while, whether it's like Turtle Boy or whether it's Steve Robinson at the Main Wire or people on Substacks doing things independently. Those things are going to have to replace it because you cannot run a traditional newsroom and make any money anymore doing this stuff. But it's really, really vital information for people.
It totally is. Not only is it vital information, by the way, Bill Barr had a great piece in the Wall Street Journal today. Congress must halt big tech's power grab. Lawmakers don't have to rewrite the antitrust laws. Instead, these 3 steps could make a difference. And he goes into it. First, prohibit dominant platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage by reserving for themselves higher quality access than they grant competitors. Amazon was charged by the European Union for excluding rival merchants' products from the buy box, a valuable space on its website that helps generate sales. Amazon settled the case, agreeing to give competitors' products the same placement as its own. EU regulators were right, and Congress should prohibit a dominant platform from giving preferential platform access for its own products. Second, prohibit big tech from using dominant platforms to extract competitors' business data and exploiting that data in developing competing products. Last month, Amazon settled EU charges that it gleaned non-public information from independent merchants using its platform to inform Amazon's own competing product offering.
Yeah, that's been a problem with Amazon for a long
Right.
time. It's like you could sell your own stuff on there, but then Amazon would watch what worked for you and then do it cheaply
Right.
and better than you.
Third, protect consumer privacy. Congress has yet to address the massive amount of personal information these companies already collect, but the scope and scale of these data are about to explode as big tech hoovers up information from our homes, cars, financial transactions, healthcare, and other markets. This will be augmented before long by a 24/7 flow of video, audio, and electronic signals collected by their fleets of autonomous vehicles zipping about our streets. Did you know about this? Add to this a capacity to sift data with artificial intelligence tools, and things start resembling the dystopian surveillance societies portrayed in sci-fi movies.
Why do you think every time you have to log into something and it gives you the I'm not a robot quiz, it's all like, which things are a bicycle? Which things are a streetlight? Because you're helping train the AI that all the driverless cars use.
Really?
Yeah.
So, but this zipping the autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
Collected electronic signals collected by their fleets of autonomous vehicles zipping about our streets.
Yeah.
So we're training these fleets
Driverless
of vehicles
cars.
that are going to be driving around sucking up information on us.
Yeah. Just
Well,
like
why didn't you tell me this
just the
when you
people
found
that
out?
just like all the people that write anything and put it out there all are part of training ChatGPT to be able to write like an 8th grader, right? Like they're taking all the work and knowledge of humans and then like feeding it into a computer and seeing if they can do it.
What else? Who else am I training, Alice?
You're training all kinds of AIs and stuff. Yeah, we're training them to kill us. I don't know. It's just this is how it goes. It's okay. I'm gonna just live in the woods when I'm old. It's fine. I'll like subsist off berries or something.
No, but you don't live in. You.
Are you suggesting I want people to live without Twitter? If I go live in the woods?
Amazon Prime, Alice.
They don't deliver to the woods?
No.
To my hermit's
And
cave?
if they do, yeah. So I mean, that's the more the text thing. So that's nuts. But like getting back to the local journalists, I don't know how this information, unless everybody suddenly is really interested in the Entenmann's and coffee at town meetings and Board of Ed meetings, etc. I don't know how people will get this information. And what does it behoove a Board of Education to put all their stuff out? Well, actually, they can put their stuff out there. It still doesn't matter if it's not disseminated by anybody. Or is that what it's going to be? Is everybody's? I don't know. I don't know how this. How do you find out that your school is hiring? Like right now, there's a thing I sent us about the school near us hiring a resource officer, and that was only picked up because somebody from the Newburyport newspaper reported it. And
probably the town sent a press release to them too. I don't know that they probably went out of their way.
Well, sure, but if they reported it, they would have just gone to a school board meeting, which is probably So that's how it's disseminated right now. So from there, it's on Facebook and it's elsewhere. But without them, what happens is that people just chase the clout of being the most informative person in their neighborhood. Is that what happens? And is there? Yeah,
I mean, somebody's got to hustle and do it, whether you're somebody doing that's a lot of work. Mike Karaji, who we've made fun of on this show for wanting his student loans repaid, who ran the patch in Melrose when we were there. For all, like, we do, it's pathetic that he wants us to repay his student loans, but he actually did an awesome job. The quality of those patch newspapers varies quite a bit, but he would actually go to a lot of this stuff and report on it, and people did care about a lot of the stuff that happened at these meetings. I mean, I love going to town meeting because there is like whole dramas that unfold in the course of the night about random things, and like people do care about it, and it's kind of interesting, but it takes somebody to actually go to the stuff because nobody else is going to tell you about it. And if you wait for the video to be available online of the meeting, like it's too late already. Like you have to actually go to the stuff, take notes, and write about what happened. Like, somebody has to do that, and it's a lot of work. There's a ton of meetings. Like, somebody has to actually want to do that and do that work. Could it potentially make you money? Like, maybe. If you're a small one-person operation and you have a Substack and you just do that, I mean, that's doable. You could in some way make it financially feasible, I think, but you're not going to be. It's impossible to scale it up beyond without, you need somebody doing that in a pretty small region, or it immediately becomes overwhelming because there's a ton of stuff to follow in even just like one town.
And you'd think like these board of eds actually, many of them do want you to know that they're de-emphasizing Halloween.
Right.
Because they're proud of that stuff. So they are looking to disseminate information as well. And, well, they can do it through their own Facebook pages now,
Yeah, but
I
they're
guess.
doing it on these, in these meetings and on these platforms. People are interested in what happens at this stuff. And especially if you're somebody who can summarize what's going on at these meetings and put it out there in a way that, gets the main points across to other people, because a lot of it is very dry. And, it is something that's kind of a lost art, but that's not, I don't know what they teach in journalism school. I haven't been to journalism school, but I don't know if that is what they teach in journalism school, is like how municipal governments work and how to read, how to read the town meeting packet and the recommendations of the finance committee. Like, is that what they teach? Do they teach that in journalism school?
I don't know.
So, but then you have these kids getting out of journalism school, and like big newspapers pay people like $70,000. Right?
Well, sure.
Like good people, right? And
well,
then what I'm saying is that then you go to like small local papers, and the Lowell Sun is pretty big for like a local paper.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I don't know if Massachusetts minimum wage is $15 an hour yet, but they weren't paying reporters much more than that for a full-time job.
Right.
I mean, I made more probably making pizzas at the brewery than a lot of the journalists at the Lowell Sun were making.
The new people.
Yeah.
The new yeah.
Like when you hired a reporter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Out of school.
Exactly.
And so, like, what can you really expect from that person now?
Well,
To spend every night of the week at meetings? Like,
well, I mean, the deal was this, is that if you go to the Lowell Sun and you do well, then you get pulled in, you get into the Herald. And if you get the Herald and you do well, then you go to the Globe. And if you go to the Globe and you do well, then you could either
New York Times,
New York
Washington
Times,
Post,
the Washington Post, local
start
NPR.
a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, so, I mean, even though, the Globe is still privately owned, so that's why that's still there.
Right. It's somebody, and so is the Washington Post, by the way. I don't know what the New York Times is doing right now.
It's also privately owned.
So these are just people's passion projects.
Yes.
And that's the only reason anybody's making any money at them.
I mean, they say that they're making subscription money and that the Trump years were great, and I who knows? Who knows? But like 10 years from now, what does it look like? What does it look like for Newburyport? Like, where is all the information coming? Just simply people posting on Facebook?
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a big piece of it. But I think that, it is something where probably somebody starts a Substack or something else and just does their town.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the Turtle Boy kind of folks.
Yeah, and I think that's great in a lot of ways because there's so much less gatekeeping to that.
Well, yeah, and the Turtle Boy model works because people know that that's where you can go to hand off stories to.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I've given stuff to Turtle Boy. I think you probably have, too. And I've given stuff to Steve, Main Wire. Mm-hmm. That's how, it's funny because I had to think like a journalist. I had to think like an editor because I said to myself, okay, I want to see this story. I want to be able to tweet this story out about this psychotic superintendent. and oh goody, she used to work in Maine. That way it works for Steve. That way Steve will publish it. I can get the story and tweet it out. And so I'm kind of like owning the story, and I can work off of that for my radio show. So it's like each of us are, it's kind of like a basketball team. You know, I'm passing it to this person who's passing to this person who's making it into a point on the scoreboard.
Oh yeah, and there's so many people that encounter this craziness and wild stuff every day that don't have anybody to give it to, that if you get a little bit of a reputation of somebody who's publishing this stuff, people will start showing up in your inbox with things.
Yeah, and I get stuff from Connecticut, from people, from parents, parents and people who just in the know, and in some other. It's interesting how the media is so limited and so just so in a tank in Connecticut for the establishment, for the politicians, that almost immediately I had people plugged into me. I was getting Oppo stuff immediately. You've seen my email.
Yeah.
It's daily. It's almost, you know what it is? Because there's no real media. There's not much of a media in Connecticut. And it's such a blue state. What you've got is the citizens acting, and Republican politicians and people, staffers, etc., acting as this journalism,
like guerrilla journalism
bucket brigade,
right?
And all just doing their part to get information over. And it's funny because it's like this underground. It's like this underground system that's going on here.
So yeah, I mean, it's a weird time because there is this huge vacuum, but people will fill that vacuum in. Like people who care about, there are weird people who care about this stuff, like Steve Robinsons and Turtle Boys and other people who will go find things.
Well, yeah, and you know what? And they're smart too, because Turtle Boy has learned to survive, even though everything bans him. And Steve has got seed money,
right?
So, and Steve is so smart. Like Steve is running with the Katherine Clark.
Oh yeah,
story too. Because why wouldn't you? It's a great story.
It's national because she's a huge national politician. She's the second most powerful Democrat in Congress. It's an important story, and we laughed about it yesterday, obviously, because it's hilarious. The whole thing is absurd. But it's also actually insane that the media is not paying more attention to it.
Yes.
Can you imagine if, like, a Republican that powerful, if, like, Kevin McCarthy's kid assaulted a police officer and was like all this stuff? It's just crazy. It's crazy that they're not more concerned about it, and like what it reflects about her values. They would be saying that he's like a radical and all this stuff and a white supremacist if like some.
Well, a cop was bleeding.
Right.
At the hands of these people. And she puts out this quote about the cycle of joy and pain in parenting. And it's not about condemning violence generally. It's not about condemning or showing support for law enforcement. Right here. I mean, you are all in if you're her and you've done this. It's remarkable. It's remarkable that this is happening. These people, I don't know if they understand it, and we have friends in Melrose who are good Democrats. They're the baddies here. I don't think they understand. There's so many times that you can be always the bad person doing the abusing and the violence, etc., like we saw over the weekend in Atlanta, etc.
Oh, and it was this protest I was reading, the Boston one was in solidarity with Atlanta.
Right.
So.
There's only so many times you can be the bad person before you're just the bad person.
Right.
And
before you're not fighting back, you're just actually
right. You're what evil looks like now. Okay,
Atlanta.
I'm sorry about that. You know, this is exploding things in Atlanta, and shooting a cop in Atlanta, and we're shutting it down in Atlanta. Meanwhile, these same people, these same arsonists are the people who made MLB pull their All-Star game out of Atlanta because of voting laws that resulted in the cleanest elections in our nation's history, as a matter of fact. Jesus.
In other news, I did really want to do Corinne Jean-Pierre today. Did you see any of these? I sent us
I
a bunch
read
of
them.
clips.
I read them. I can start from the top here.
Sure, they're not really in order, but I just grabbed a bunch that I thought were especially. This is not good for that. There was this like full court press over the weekend with the consensual FBI search, but it obviously has not worked because we talk about like reporters being hungry and wanting to go after the story and being just MFs who like will go after people.
Right.
Like, even though they don't want to, this White House press corps smells blood now.
They do, and she can't say what they know what her energy is, which is they're not effing leveling with me, guys. Stop asking me. And they're not effing leveling with her, obviously, because the lawyers are circling and they're saying, no, not our job is to protect you, Joe. It's not to make sure that your dimwit out there has a good day and can, has a force field against Peter Doocy. Here's one of them.
Another question on the documents. You have said, though, from this podium many, many times over the last 2 weeks that this president takes the handling of classified material very seriously. And yet we continue to learn about more documents being found and discovered at his home, including now some that go back decades to his time in the Senate. So why should the American people believe that this president takes classified material seriously and the handling of it?
Look, the American people heard from the president directly on this when he was asked by your colleagues at least twice now about how he sees this process. And he was very clear.
What was the question?
Why should the American people believe that this president takes classified material seriously?
And what's the answer?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Just
checking.
I'll go
ahead.
a little bit back on it.
Handling of it.
Look, the American people heard from the president directly on this when he was asked by your colleagues at least twice now about how he sees this process. And he was very clear with the response of what we're currently seeing. And he says, I take this very seriously. He
That's
said,
great.
I didn't know that the documents were there.
She's not a genius. That said, they're not giving her a whole lot to work with out there.
Well, how do we know he's taking it seriously? Well, he said he's taking it seriously.
And you got all that now, the normal Democratic press corps members just haranguing her. Meanwhile, Ducey's out there just taking 3-point shots and landing them.
Is what matters to the president.
The House Oversight Committee chairman says this document situation has all the makings of a potential cover-up. Is President Biden involved in a cover-up?
Hold on now. That's a absolute bleep-eating question, but it's a great question because he got the word cover-up in the news cycle now.
Mm-hmm.
And so she can't just blow it off. She can't refuse to answer it. She's got to swallow that.
And answer whether or not it's a cover-up.
Right, and validate the premise, which is well done by him, but an unwinnable situation for her.
We've been very clear here from this administration. The president has been very clear that he takes this very seriously when it comes to classified information.
Now let me ask you, what was the question?
The question was, I forgot.
Is President Biden involved in a cover-up?
Right. Okay.
Remember.
Good. Yes, cover-up.
So far, she hasn't said no. And that's the story.
Classified documents, and that his team has been fully cooperative with this legal matter. Anything else, Peter? And I'm going to be very serious. You asked me kind of a question that everybody laughed at, which was interesting question to ask. But any other underlying questions that you may have, I would refer you to my colleagues, the White House counsel. I'm going to continue to be prudent. I'm going to continue to be consistent and refer you to any questions you.
Did you hear the question that everyone laughed at that he asked? You can scroll down there and find it.
But just let the record show.
Mm-hmm.
Is President Biden involved in a cover-up? The answer was not no.
Yeah, the answer was he's taking this very seriously, and
right.
And you might think this is funny, Peter, but I do not. So that's
interesting. I don't know if she's smart enough to do this, but if you were somebody, you would be going right now. If you're in the communication shop of that White House, you'd be going to the whoever the press whoever is involved, runs it, like Kate Bedingfield, whatever, and you would say, if I go out there today and they ask me if the president's in a cover-up, if I say no, am I telling the truth? And you would have Bedingfield or somebody else, the chief of staff, if he's in the meeting, say, don't answer the question. Because you don't want to be the one going out there.
She doesn't even seem to have stuff to read from her binder for these.
No.
She's just winging it, I think. I don't know. They didn't even give her binder notes.
When you and the White House and the president all say that the president takes these classified documents very seriously, without commenting on the ongoing legal issue, what would you point us to that would demonstrate that seriousness?
I'm going to really refer you to the White House counsel's office. I am. I'm going.
You can't tell us how.
I am.
So the president continues to say that he takes us
Well,
seriously, and you can't.
Just this is enough for you to say. She's essentially saying to the White House counsel's office, F you guys. You handle this crap.
Yeah, you
Take
put me out here.
Right.
You handle this.
You put me out here with no information. I can't think of my feet as it is. I've got nothing here. You're not telling me because you don't trust me, rightfully.
They didn't give her any statements in the binder, and they were like, it's fine, Karine, just refer them to the White House counsel's office. Don't worry about it. I'm sure they'll stop asking if you tell them that.
Demonstrate how he takes it seriously.
Let me finish my answer. I'm gonna refer you to the White House counsel's office, and I'm gonna refer you to the statements that you've received from his personal lawyer. I'm going to refer you to the 45 minutes of conversation, of back and forth that my colleague has had with all of you last week. He's about to do another one where you can ask questions about this particular legal matter.
What colleague? John Kirby?
I guess so. I don't know who she's talking about.
But she's personally just not taking any more questions.
I guess
Again,
so.
that's where this belongs. That's where I'm going to refer you to. But again, you've seen the statements. You've heard from the president a couple of times. You've heard from his personal lawyer. You've heard from the White House counsel's office. And that's where I'm going to leave it.
When you found out that the FBI had located even more classified materials in Wilmington, which four-letter word did you use?
Oh my goodness, Peter.
Can't say. Okay. When you found out
That's what
that
she's referring to, that like you asked a question that made people laugh, but
Right. But also still, her laughing along with it is a total acknowledgement. She's like he allowed her to blow off a little steam up there
yeah.
because people
Yeah, it's a friendly question for her. It's humorous, but I'm sorry that I'm about to do this to you. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, we know this sucks for you, KJP, is what they're saying.
Another question on the documents. You have said, though, from this podium many, many times over the last 2 weeks that this president takes the handling of classified material very seriously. And yet we continue to learn about more.
It's the same one.
The president said last week that he has no regrets when it comes to the handling of classified documents. Why doesn't he have regrets, given that classified documents keep turning up?
I talked about this last week. I'm not going to go beyond what the president said. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel for anything further on this legal matter. Again, I spoke to this yesterday. Last Friday. I'm just not going to go beyond what the president.
That's not a legal question. It's about his
I
statement
understand.
from last week.
I understand, and I said I'm not going to go beyond what the president said, and I think it speaks for itself. I'm not going to go into what he meant or didn't meant. He laid it out. He said it to all of you when he was out I believe in California, when he answered one of your colleagues' question or when he addressed this particular matter. I'm just not going to go into what he meant or didn't mean.
So they can't do this every day. They can't do this every day.
How long
not
does
enough,
this go on?
The weekend news shows have done all they can to try to tell you how Trump stuff was much worse. Trump's not caught in the trap right now.
Right.
It's somebody else. It's the sitting president. That's a big headline.
Well, yeah, and part of that is just it's unfair, but Trump doesn't have a press secretary who's holding press briefings every day to the press corps, or I'm sure he would be getting lots of these questions too, but he doesn't have that.
Yeah, but he's not the president.
Right. But the idea is too that like they have to go out here and do this stuff because they're the president. So
So if I were on Team Biden right now,
Mm-hmm.
what if you were the Biden administration right now? What would you do?
If I were in the Biden, like if I were Ron Klain.
Ron Klain, yep.
I mean, go retweet a bunch of people saying that it was consensual. I don't know. What do you do? There is no good answer to any of this.
There's best practices.
I don't know. What would you do?
If I were around the table and they said, we're getting hammered here, and we don't know, somebody's leaking to the press, somebody, the feds are now crawling around, we're pretending this is consensual, but it's not feeling like they think it's consensual anymore, and it's only a matter of time this keeps happening. You need to remember, you didn't have friends growing up, so you didn't know. But
I did have friends,
but
actually.
when you were, when I was a kid, and there's a certain character type where if you were playing Nintendo or in television or even Atari or whatever, where if you were getting your ass beat like 32-6 in baseball,
Mm-hmm.
dun 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 dun
Yep.
dun 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 dun. You recognize that song?
No.
Okay. That the man of low character would hit the reset button
Oh.
on the game.
Mm-hmm. Did you do that?
On several occasions I did. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, how do you hit the reset button, or at least attempt to? I'll give you a hint. It starts with on a big gray boat, and these little hatches open, and this projectile flies out of the big gray boat.
A nuclear war?
Not quite, Alice. That would certainly change the channel. There's no doubt that would do it. But maybe you shouldn't have a big position in this presidency, Alice. Maybe we shouldn't quite go to that option. World annihilation. Congratulations, sir, as we're being irradiated. Nobody's asking about the documents anymore, because considering a firestorm has made its way through the 48 contiguous states, and we've been reduced to a sea of glass now.
I thought that's what you
moved
were saying.
No, Alice.
Oh.
First of all, our big gray ships don't shoot nukes for the.
I don't know. I thought like you maybe a submarine or something.
Cruise missiles, Alice.
Whatever. Okay.
Aspirin factory. Wag the dog time. It's time to light something up. And tell people about what it, because you're not going to get people with the horse-faced Frankenstein over in Davos is not going to get people's attention.
Oh, and unfortunately for them too, the mass shooting didn't really work out the way they wanted it to either.
Oh yeah, there was a sense of general mourning on the left because of that. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
they were like upset that
right.
Guys, it's embarrassing to be publicly disappointed that it wasn't a hate crime. Like,
Right.
Don't do that. Just chill.
So I'm saying to you,
Mm-hmm.
watch for it. This is my suggestion.
Okay.
Watch for a goat dung factory in Kabul to explode soon, because we found Al Qaeda sneaking in, and Joe Biden's just not going to have it, and he's going to stand firm. And
Tommy in New Hampshire likes an isolation. Julie and Phil say if they were Ron Klain, get Kamala involved to look into the root causes of misplaced documents.
well, it's interesting because they are trying to remake her. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think you get Kamala involved in anything at this point.
Keep
And
her
now,
far
if
away.
she's got any survival instincts, she is nowhere near this, obviously. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, have you seen my new
Bamboo
edition?
plant? I was noticing it. Yes, it does show on the video.
How did you know it was a bamboo plant?
Because I know what bamboo looks like.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah, it's very nice. Don't plant it outside, though, because bamboo can be very invasive outside.
Even up here?
Mhm.
Really? Who cares?
Just
Yeah,
keep
get
it-
in line behind all the other invasive crap outside. So what's going to happen with this?
It's just a nice little plant.
It'll just stay little?
I think it grows. I don't know. I'm not great at taking care of plants.
Okay.
Not one of my gifts.
Not one of them?
Did Did I tell you about the bonsai tree?
Yes, you did. I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Wait, but the listeners maybe didn't hear about my bonsai tree.
Alice was very abusive of one of her boyfriends, who was kind of a fiance at a time too. I think even when I was starting to date her, he had little idea. She was happy to step on his heart and destroy it. Shockingly enough, he went to art school and lived with his parents. Shockingly enough. But yes, he gave her a bonsai tree.
He gave me a cutting from his bonsai tree.
Oh.
So that they could be apart, and then mine could grow, and then we could grow them back together and like intertwine them.
What a pussy! Oh.
And I let it die.
He let it die, and then she was actively sleeping with a man almost 40.
Well, that was later. That was actually still
She let
in
it
our
die.
actual relationship that I let the bonsai
this
tree
is
die.
and this is like Katherine Clark's son is so like this kid, that guy that you were dating is a true alpha male compared to Katherine Clark's son, who's just like is unmoored to anything. But man, there are guys. You should all young men who are idealistic and romantic, and believe me, I was one of them too. I would have given the bonsai tree. I was just a total bitch when I was 20. Talk to an older guy. Talk to a guy who looks like me and who you'd say, you know what? When I'm 50, I'll never look like that. I'll never be so dead inside as that guy. Go consult one of those people and ask him how the dead inside happened. And it started with bonsai trees. So just believe me. Eminem says, America, let's talk. In the last year, we've made some changes to our beloved spokes candies. We weren't sure if anyone would even notice, and we definitely didn't think it would break the internet. But now we get it.
They didn't break the internet.
Even a candy's shoes can be polarizing, which was the last thing M&M's wanted, since we're all about bringing people together. Therefore, we have decided to take an indefinite pause from these spokes candies. In their place, we're proud to introduce a spokesperson America can agree on, the beloved Maya Rudolph. We're confident Miss Rudolph will champion the power of fun to create a world where everyone feels they belong. You could just keep making effing candy and shut up.
Right?
So maybe you're not that smart, okay? I know you've got degrees, and everybody at the CEO's table is very impressed with how smart they are and all the degrees. Maybe you should just shut up and make little round candies with different colors, okay? Don't need to do anything else. This is just another way of saying we went woke, and you decided that you wanted your candy company to not go woke, and we lost a lot of money, so we're changing back, except for here's Maya Rudolph, and she's a person of color and love us. So,
by the way, nobody said get rid of all the spokes candies.
Yeah, that was for you and your friends in the boardroom, and at the Capitol Grill boxed working lunch sessions that cared about that. Nobody ever expected anything from you but a steady supply of M&Ms. Really, that's it. But this also makes me say that I endorse. As far as I'm concerned, this could be the last tweet before the Alice Shattuck Biden administration proposal. And just hold this up as you see the mushroom clouds. This is us. That's all you need. Are you okay? Can you stop covering your mouth, please?
Okay. It's okay.
Jeez. Should we nuke them? No, Alice. Maybe we don't quite. Listen, Blondie, maybe we hold off for a second before you get over your skis on that. But... Oh, my.
This cannot be real.
Listen. It's real, Blondie, okay? Yeah, so that's a mushroom cloud over there.
I have potassium iodide. We're good.
That's officially a mushroom cloud.
Horrifies me.
I know it does. All right, should we do the Chelsea Fire, or do you want something that you also like?
No, I'd like to go to the Chelsea Fire.
Would you like to also Agent Orange and salt the earth in any continents to change the subject from Biden's plight?
Just do the shut. No. Okay, the Chelsea Fire, Wicked Hotline, chat.
By the way, was it Tommy in New Hampshire who asked what her name?
Morgan.
Was it Morgan? Oh, yeah,
Morgan asked about my maiden name.
Okay, is it starting to make sense now, Morgan?
Why don't you go ahead and do the Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline chat because which is brought to you by Chelsea Fire Wicked hot sauce, which is an excellent hot sauce that Tom can eat on Awaken 180.
Burn the entire earth.
And you can find it at Market Basket and Big Y, and it's really delicious. And they give 5% of the proceeds to the Fallen Firefighters Foundation.
Okay. I don't even have that open. Oh, I'm gonna have to sign in because it's meeting me for the first time. I'm sorry about that. Oh wait, this one might be open. And sign in. Sorry about that. Burn barrel, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me
Looks like some good messages here. I'm excited.
Hold on. And 0 for 1. Let me try another one.
No, nothing.
Oh, I gotta try it. Oh. Okay. The club random is opening up. Okay, let me try this. I'm gonna start with 5.
I think so.
Okay, here we go.
Any luck? How about the one that starts with 3?
Okay. Is there a mark at the end of that one?
I don't usually do that one with a mark at the end. I usually only
We are
do.
in.
Oh boy.
We are in.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Hey there, Burn Barrel. This is Dudley Moore.
Oh,
I was wondering how you all doing. And I was wondering if funnel cakes are a Awaken 180 approved. And possibly if you could use the Chelsea Fire Wicked hot sauce on them. Okay.
So
I'll let you get back to it.
So I think that's a miss by Justin, but not that by that much. Tell me everything you know about Dudley Moore.
Nothing.
Tell me everything you know about Roger Moore.
He was a James Bond.
Okay, Dudley Moore you need to learn about.
Okay.
This is a guy who is a genius who did incredible movies. 10, Arthur. Have you ever seen Arthur?
I know of it.
We may watch it tonight.
Really?
So John Gielgud, Dudley Moore. It's Liza Minnelli's in it. He's a brilliant man. Brilliant man. He died way too early. Probably a lot younger than me. By the way, how is this possible that I'm 10 years older than who's the governor of Arkansas?
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah, she's 40. I'm 50.
Yeah, she's like one of the youngest governors ever, I think.
The point is not that the important first. The point is, how did this happen? Okay, we're watching a Dudley Moore movie. You need to learn him. My favorite thing about Dudley Moore is one time Oprah Winfrey had him on, and he actually was Beatles adjacent. He hung out with the Beatles. And she said, "Okay, Dudley, I understand you had an interesting childhood. This and that." She said, "Tell me about your mother." And he said, "She was a total slut." Okay, I'll talk to somebody with a sense of humor. Once again,
get it.
Once again, Morgan,
Okay.
there you go. It comes with the package. Nuclear annihilation to change the messaging for a news cycle and zero sense of humor.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey.
Hi.
Private Detective Morgan here.
Hey. Uh-oh.
Hi.
So, here's my update.
Uh-oh, this is on my
On Tom
illegal
Shattuck's-
arrest and
yes.
prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
I've put in my request with Vermont. They tell me I could have information and possibly a mugshot within 2 days or as long as 2 weeks.
So let me tell you how this works, Morgan. It's 2 weeks. They let everybody know that if the FOIA, you're going to get it exactly 2 weeks from now. I've done this as well.
So this could be suspenseful. Let's see. Didn't really think it would be so hard, but I did find some stuff in the process.
Really?
Because apparently the only way to get the mugshot is going to be through this state. You have no criminal record, Tom. That's surprising.
That's not really true. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I have been apprehended by law enforcement, but it's
You've had law enforcement interactions, but have you been like convicted of a crime? Well, I guess your DUI you kind of were, right? Or no? That's a crime now?
I guess so. And when I was 20, me and my friend, I think I've told you about this. When Dick's Last Resort first opened in Boston, we snuck through the back to go into the opening party, and we got plastered. And then, in the Prue garage, grabbed their rolling fire extinguisher and sprayed people at random, and sprayed like the security and everybody. We were laughing, we were so like slovenly drunk and laughing. And we were absolutely arrested and apprehended and booked and spent the night in jail for that one. And that was that place. I think I've shown you that precinct is now condos. Yeah, I spent the night in jail. Oh, that was a fun night. I was even like because I come from a life of privilege, man. I was so enthralled by the process, like going through the criminal justice system, being arraigned.
So if and when Morgan gets this mugshot, is this going to be a skinny period or a chubby period?
Skinny. That's okay. I put on some weight right after that mugshot. It looked pretty good. That was 96 or 97 at that point. I'm pretty sure. So I looked pretty good. I got a girlfriend right around there, and then threw on some girlfriend weight. It was like, you wouldn't know how that feels. But yeah, there was no cycle of joy and pain. They essentially the judge said, "Do you know, by the way, since you don't have a lawyer here, that you could go to jail for 5 years? Did you know that? Because it's malicious destruction of property or something." And I didn't know that, and I said, "No, I didn't know. I'm sorry about that." And he's like, so then my friend did get a lawyer, a state appointed lawyer. I didn't want to spend any money. I wasn't making very much money. I had 2 jobs at this time, and the judge and the lawyer worked out an agreement with the prosecutors, and they said, just throw the other kid in there too, then just whatever. And then my friend has never forgiven me for benefiting from his lawyer's work. He's like, you should pay me half. I'm like, no, I mean, I didn't care. I was going to either do my 5 years for spraying a fire hydrant, or your lawyer was going to save me. Anyway, that's just one of the many ex-friends I have now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That we had a little dalliance in Winchester when I was at minor. We effed around a few times, but I don't know where that stuff is. But it was nothing big. It was always drunk and stupid as a young person, and then it culminated with that DUI in Vermont. I guess that was it. Which is it's funny as how it works out, because like that was the time I wasn't drunk, and all the times I was like in Boston and got pulled over, including being one time I was stoned out of my mind and plastered, and only 20 years old, and I remember the cop saying that he was going to beat me if I got in an accident or anything, but he was letting me go. But I was almost catatonic, and like those times, it's very lucky. It was very stupid, and it was really stupid. And the more I was like driving, and it was a my generation thing to do. My friends at the same time, we all were drunk and high driving all the time. And our
when did drunk driving become like socially unacceptable?
Well, it was pretty much getting to the point at that point, except I just drank. I just hung out with drinkers, so like we had to get home. That's how you got home. There was no Uber, and we didn't have any money. But no, I think in a few years after that, like I would never,
like when the Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Well, that was coming up in the 80s, certainly.
Okay.
But you would never, certainly not with my friends, you would never like take somebody's keys. You don't get to. But but I am very lucky that I didn't. There was actually okay. There's a cold case where I was pursued by the cops when I was 20, and I was living with my brother at the time, and I think that this is safe to talk about.
But don't find out first before you do it.
But I was just soused, and I shouldn't have been doing it. And anyway, cop came after me. It was bad news. It was bad news. Anyway, the cop, I was driving very obviously erratically, and most definitely in the wrong direction.
Oh.
Right. So, and then this cop pursued me, and for a while, and it was really snowy, and it was terrible. The weather was terrible. And I remember it was fishtailing all over the place, and I could see him fishtailing. So this is like a 39-mile-per-hour blizzard police chase.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is ridiculous. And I pulled up in front of my apartment, put all my stuff in a pile, and said to my then roommate, who's not the same person, I said, the cops are going to be here at any time. I'm going to crash. Please try to remember this is all my personal stuff, and I'm going to need some of this stuff for jail because they're going to come and grab me from here at any time. And I woke up in the morning, and it wasn't in jail. I'm like, it's got to be. And I told you, the chase
Unsolved
took place.
mysteries.
Chase
of
took,
the
we lived in
Boston
Medford.
Police Department.
We lived in Medford, and I worked in Cambridge, and I avoided for like 3 years going directly from Medford to Cambridge anymore. I went through like East Boston, back through the tunnel, back, and I was like, man, and that was a bad feeling having that. And I remember I told this woman, a manager at my work, who was a gorgeous
Somebody
woman.
in the chat says O.J. Shattuck.
Yeah.
Somebody else is Hunter Shattuck.
And then, so I told the woman, because it was really like I was really nervous about this. The fact that, like, as far as I knew, that there was going to be helicopters around it. Like, I remember being in the snow when I parked the car in front of my place in Medford, trying to put snow up against the license plate, and it just falling down. I'm like holding on. But I remember I told this woman who was a 27-year-old manager, Portuguese of Portuguese descent, gorgeous, gorgeous woman, who said, like, why are you nervous, whatever. And I told her the whole story. And she said, what did she say?
I don't know.
She said, wow. It's like, really? Am I in a position right now where you're actually fairly turned on by this? Should I live a life of crime? I don't know. Okay.
I meant 9% battery, so I need you to finish the chat. As much as I love this.
Let's see if I can just say a little bit more so I can finally get fired and self-cancel and live in...
DWIs are erased. Like, in 7 to 10 years, I think.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay.
But not from the DMV. It's a separate entity. I actually tried the same thing you did. The whole statute of limitations.
Yeah.
I think it was inspired by a Seinfeld episode I saw.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because on my, and I don't know if Morgan, if you even found this, it used to be able to get other people's driving records in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's that easy anymore, but they had on my driving record all of these things happening. Everything like my original, my DUI, in my suspension, and then my revocation because I didn't do anything. I never saw anything that told me I had my license revoked. And then my application to get a new driver's license, and then my entering the program to get a driver's license, and then my clearance for a permit, and then and all of those came on the DMV. Did you ever see this, Alice?
Mm-mm.
All of those came on the DMV as the code for them was DUI. So I had like 18 DUIs. There.
Yeah, but they're not each their own DUI.
No, it was just the one, but it would. Oh, they all fell under the umbrella. Mm-hmm. So, you're trying to get me to go. But anyway,
we're down to 7%. Now.
I tried to get my license at the RMV in Chinatown, and the woman said, "By the way, there's a number of DUIs on here." I said, "No, there isn't. There should be one." She said, "We have a bunch of them, and in Massachusetts." No. It was just that once. I messed up.
What else?
Hunter Shattuck.
Your brother moves around a lot.
Okay.
He is like Woody Guthrie. He is all over the place.
You may be looking at seeing a different brother because that brother indeed has not really moved around a lot. But they conflate him with another guy a lot. So, but maybe that's his plan.
You have a really interesting middle name. Must be some sort of family roots thing, old Vermont type thing, something like that. But I will keep you informed as the investigation continues. Peace.
Oh, that mugshot would be something, though. Mm-hmm. Would be something. Imagine he finds the record and it actually shows that, like, I killed a family. Oh, I forgot that whole part of that night. Yeah, my middle name is Winn. W-I-N-N. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry, Alice.
Hey, Tom and Alice. I'm going to try my Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Spot.
There we go. Hot spot.
Hot
like
sauce spot here. Since Leslie did one.
Oh.
Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce. It's the best around. It's the best there is. Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce. Awaken 180 approved. and will not cause night terrors. Thank you.
I think it's pretty good, actually. Very theatrical. Sounds like Governor Huey Long doing it, which is something.
Let me get this straight. So far, Tom has dimed out his buddy that was with him when they ditched the tab at Elephant and Castle.
Uh-huh.
I was just with him talking about that 3 days ago. We were at a bar, Casey's in Somerville, talking about that.
He has dimed out the person that may or may not have committed some sort of insurance questionable acts. But he refuses to dime out a totally innocent person who didn't even get in trouble that was with him when Tom got arrested for something. I'm just trying to put my head around the thought process with Thomas Shattuck.
Yeah, well, some people have made it quite clear that they want nothing to do with this. Uh-oh.
Well,
Did it die?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Here's the last one.
Hey, Tom and Alice, it's Alicia calling with some exciting news.
Ooh.
My husband has found out where you guys vacation here in Vermont, so
Great.
looking forward to this summer. I'm going to secure a cabin right next door.
Got it.
Thomas, I hope you own a Speedo. I will be there with my bikini and a pitcher of margaritas. See you guys there.
Correct. Absolutely. Let's do it. Yes, there are cabins available. Maybe we'll have a whole listener thing up there, Alice. What do you think?
Good idea, I think.
Morgan,
that's a good
Alicia,
idea.
Tom, Alice, margaritas, right?
I think that's a great idea.
I'm getting stared daggers at by Alice right now because I've talked so much that her computer died. Oh, man.
So now you guys get this with this type of sound. So, okay. Are we done? Thank you so much. Sorry, the episode that I put up will have the last part of the audio if you guys lost it. And
why are you looking at me angrily?
Because I told you I was running out of batteries, and if I plug in, then it makes a bad sound. So I'm just trying, and you just whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's great. It's a great show. I appreciate it. And
what a
go to
salty-
burnbarrelpodcast.com.
Don't worry, Alice. Should we nuke the Earth? Would that help?
Yes. Let's go.